It's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll? Driving on the highway, going to a show. Stopping on the byway, playing rock and roll. Getting round, getting stoned, getting beat up, throwing bone, getting high, getting shook. Watch all your folks, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's easy to do one night stands. Try being a rock and roll band. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll.
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome to another installment of the 2005 season of the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series. We're here from Las Vegas for the third to last round of the 2005 NASCAR season for the Checker Auto Parts 500. Here from the final little West Coast swing, here from Vegas and California next week as we wind this season down even further and take a look at your starting lineup for today's race. Starting on pole for today is going to be Jamie McMurray in the 40 car, followed by Ryan Newman in the 12 on the front row. Looking down the rest of the order, as Kurt Busch in the 01, one of the championship leaders, will start from the third position, and Sterling Marlin will be in the fourth spot. Kevin Harvick will be in P number 5, and Robbie Gordon will start side by side with his teammate in 6th. Tony Stewart, second in points, will be 7th on the starting grid, and Michael Waltrip starts this race in 8th. 9th goes to Bobby Labonte in the 18 car, and Greg Biffle will start this race in 10th. 11th goes to Hank Parker Jr., nice qualifying from him, and Matt Kenseth starts in 12th. 13th goes to Dave Blaney in the 77, and Eric Norris will start from the 14th spot. Ricky Hendrick will be in 15th, and John Andretti in 16th. 17th goes to Kenny Wallace, and Jeff Gordon will start this race from P18. Casey Kane, your points leader, in the 19th position, and Jason Leffler side by side with him in 20th. Jeremy Mayfield will be from P21, and Jeff Burton 22nd place. Kyle Busch starts this race in 23rd, and Chad Little in 24th. David Runeman in the 55 and 25th place. 26th goes to Johnny Sauter. 27th will be Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Christian Elder from the 28th position. Todd Bodine in P29 as Casey Atwood starts this race from P30. It'll be Scott Wimmer in 31st and Scott Riggs in 32nd. 33rd will be Terry Labonte, and 34th, Don Thompson Jr. on the outside, Mike Bliss from P35, and John Wood in the 36th spot. Joni Nemechek from 37th, David Green will be in 38th, 39th goes to Buckshot Jones in the 78, and Carl Edwards in 40th, and the final row will be Brian Vickers in the 25, and Dale Jarrett rounding out the field in the last position. 42 cars here from Vegas, as always, as we take you to the track for the command here for the drivers to start their engines for this race coming up in just a short few moments. Command has been given as all 42 stock cars roar to life here from Vegas. Just 3 races left in your championship hunt as we take a look at your championship standings heading into today. It's Kasey Kahne in the 38 car with the points lead going into today's race, but that points lead continues to dwindle. Tony Stewart last week at Rockingham captured his 7th win of this season to make the points gap just 40 between him and that points leader Kahne. Kurt Busch in the 01 car, 82 back from 3rd place. Those are your 3 main championship leaders heading into today. Everybody else may be an afterthought, but could change with 3 races left to go on the calendar. Ricky Hendrick 168 back in 4th, and Robbie Gordon 182 back in 5th.
I mean, really, one of the biggest stories this week, though, is Roush's abysmal qualifying efforts. With Mark Martin not even qualifying for the race.
Absolutely, that 06 DNQ'd for today's race, and we saw Carl Edwards way in the back of the field in the 97 car, as well as John Woodaway's back there. He's on the outside in that Viagra 6, but not a lot to say about that going into this race. We'll see how they perform in the main event here on Sunday. Pace car peels off. 85 laps here from Vegas as Jamie McMurray leads the field to the green flag here from Sin City.
A lot of speed and a lot of patience you need at this track. Very easy to find yourself. You're not going to win this race on lap 1, but it's very easy to find yourself losing it.
Leaving turn number 2 for the first time as Jamie McMurray takes the lead from pole off of turn number 2. Jamie McMurray's teammate Kurt Busch side by side with the 12 of Newman as they head through 3 and 4. But Newman from the outside pole is going to get clear of the 01 by just a skosh down the front stretch, though. Busch looking back underneath him as they head towards turn number 1 this time. Dead heat off of turn 2 yet again. 12 and 01 still side by side behind your leader McMurray. Tony Stewart looking to get aggressive as he tries to take it 3 wide on the inside. Kevin Harvick all the way on the top.
Just ran out of grip.
Stewart trying to keep it down there and force the 3 wide. He is going to keep it underneath the 01 of Kurt Busch as they head down the front stretch. A lot of 3 wide in the mid-pack as well. We see Kasey Kahne trying to pick up some positions. He's behind Ricky Hendrick in the 5.
Almost tries to go 4.
Doing his best to pick up some positions there from his further back starting position in that 38. Not 3 wide anymore. Tony Stewart gets past Kurt Busch, fighting with Harvick for 3rd as they race side by side through turns 3 and 4 and off of corner number 4. Dead heat between those 2 Chevrolets, and Stewart now pulling up to the 12 of Newman.
And that 20 car just needs to get to that lead. Those 5 points so important as we get down the stretch.
Absolutely. We've talked about it so much over the last 10 or so races. Just points, points, points. And those 5 bonus points from leading the lap are so important because no matter where you finish, you're always going to get them. And Stewart struggling to get up to Newman, now fighting with Harvick, who gets back underneath him for the 3rd spot. Seeing Kahne in the mix here. Kurt Busch falling backwards in the 01 as he's stuck up top 3 wide. The 38 still getting aggressive and trying to pick up some spots early. Top side, not one to say that is aligned to just be able to write off at a racetrack like this. Vegas has shown some speed on that outside in the past. If you can run it right. Kahne again going 3 wide. He now takes Bobby Labonte up the inside. This fight for the 6th position as Kahne nears the top 5 despite his lowly starting position.
I mean, that's just been the story of Kahne these last few races.
Absolutely. You talk about Kahne, it's just been a battle of fighting upwards through the field pretty much every single week, and today, no different. Kahne into the top 5. He didn't take long to get there. Coming to take lap number 7 this time by, he is already into 5th and has his sights set on fellow championship rival Tony Stewart just a ways up the road in 4th place. Down the front stretch as they head towards turn number 1 with Kahne already on the back bumper of that 20 car of Tony Stewart. Harvick stuck up on the outside. McMurray led every lap so far from pole just in front of these guys who are fighting in the back end of the top 5. Down the back stretch, Kahne going to look to the outside on the 20 of Stewart. might be the preferred line, with Tony struggling to make up some positions on the bottom line, but didn't seem like Kane could find the grip up there, and Stewart clears him again. It'll now be Robbie Gordon pulling underneath the 38 down the front stretch for the 5th spot. Ryan Newman challenging for the race lead as McMurray fights with him down off of turn number 2. 40 gets clear on the outside. Harvick trying to go underneath the 12. Stewart throwing a block on the 38 of Kane down the backstretch. A lot happening in that short span as they enter turn 3. 12 and 29 side by side for second. Newman gets clear on the top line. Kane under fire from Busch and Wallace as the 01 pulls up on the 38 now. Kurt Busch trying to move forward and gain some points on your points leader. Side by side as they head through turns 1 and 2. Kane a little bit of a better exit there on the outside. Kenny Wallace finding his way up through the field early in the running here. Fighting with the 38 up front. Meanwhile, battle for the lead is continuing as McMurray trying to stay with the 12 on that outside and is not quite clear, though. Kevin Harvick's going to take it 3 wide for the lead on the bottom. Could not find the grip on entry, though. He backs out. It's going to stay Newman and McMurray, and the 40 pulls clear off of 2 again. Harvick again trying to take it 3 wide. He dives underneath Stewart and Newman this time. This move for second place as Stewart trying to find the grip on the outside. Nosed ahead. Has the run. Still 3 wide as Robbie Gordon's going to follow his teammate and give a little bit of arrow help to that 29 on the bottom. As they head into turn 1, still 3 wide.
I don't know if I'm celebrating or if I'm sweating as Jamie McMurray at this moment.
Might be a little bit of a mix of both. Stewart gets clear all the way on the very outside. Harvick trying to clear Newman for the 3rd spot now. Casey Kane up on the outside of Robbie Gordon and gets past the 31. Kurt Busch with a huge run on the 2 and the 31 down the front stretch. Got almost all the way up to Robbie Gordon, but didn't get underneath the 31 car as he ducks in line now. There are a lot of drivers in this mix for the race lead right now. Robbie Gordon getting blocked by Kane down the back stretch as the 38 threw a big block on the 31. Down into turn 3, getting aggressive early, and it's going to work out for him as he keeps him behind. Newman might get clear on the outside and does. Kane trying to stay with the 29 car now as they fight for position down the front stretch. Man, that was an aggressive move by Kane.
I mean, he's fighting for a championship. You got to do it. You can't give any of these guys any quarter.
Battle for the lead is now McMurray and Stewart as the 40 trying to hold off the 20 car down the inside. McMurray on the top, Stewart on the bottom. Dead heat as they head through turn 4. Stewart trying to get the lead at the line down to the stripe. The 20 car will have the lead. His first lap lead of the day, the first lead change of the day. Kurt Busch ahead of Kane now as the 01 is in 5th place. Still side by side for the lead, and McMurray, despite giving up the lap lead to Stewart, is going to retake that race lead. Now here's Harvick underneath the 20 for second down the backstretch.
A lot of people getting a nose in, being aggressive early in this run.
That's the story of this racetrack, you know. It's always just a matter of trying to make these passes, but being unable to do it. Vegas, a track that encourages battling, but it's difficult to actually complete the pass. Nonetheless, Tony Stewart trying to clear McMurray for the lead this time. Down the backstretch, these two guys side by side, and Tony Stewart is going to have the race lead all to himself this time. Kurt Busch and Casey
Valiant
Kane.
effort by McMurray to try and hold on.
Absolutely did everything he could from that pole spot. Casey Kane and
Don't
Kurt
look
Busch.
now, but here comes Ricky Hendrick.
Ooh, here's the 5 car joining this mix up front. First time we've seen him thoroughly in this mix for the lead. Kevin Harvick now trying to fight with Tony Stewart for first. Just trying to say it is 01 and 38 of Busch and Kane. Definitely not enjoying seeing the 20 car up front yet again. Harvick on the bottom trying to fight with the 20 of Stewart for first, but it is all Home Depot 20 out front. as he gets back clear on the outside, but Harvick going to try a second effort into turn 1 to no avail as the 20 cuts him off down into the corner.
Kurt Busch with a power move on the outside on his teammate.
Side by side between the 01 and 40, that is for the 3rd spot. Kurt Busch trying to make up some ground here and make a shot at the race lead, but again, it is so difficult to move up positions at this racetrack. Everything's stagnating at the moment. 20, 29, 40, 12, 01, your top 5. And the lap's ticking away as Stewart sits up front with Harvick in his tire tracks. Now single file through this front group as Ricky Hendrick moves past Kane for 6th.
And that's something else we notice as the tires wear, they tend to calm down a little.
Yeah, it just sort of strings out a little bit, gives you a bit of a chance to breathe. That's definitely what these drivers are going to want. Everybody's so close in a racetrack like this. It is difficult to get away from each other. Here's Greg Biffle joining this group. He's in 10th place. Kane fending off a pack of hungry dogs behind him, the 2 and 31, right behind the 38 as they head into turn number 3. Robbie Gordon with a big dive bomb on the bottom, trying to keep it underneath that Yahoo 38, but to no avail as Kane with the run off of turn 4 stays in front despite the hard braking by Robbie Gordon there into turn 3.
I mean, this is a track that rewards gamblers.
Absolutely. No stranger to it. And that's everybody's favorite spot to make that move. Turn 3, usually a site of big dive bombs and big sends, and the first time we've seen someone that hard on the brakes into the corner there. Trying to make that move stick on corner entry, especially, given that it's so difficult to pass. But corner exit, most important of all at this racetrack, and you can see why, given that the top prevails so often when people get that run off of the corner. Here's Ricky Hendrick on the bottom of 3 wide. Harvick and that is Ryan Newman in the 12 in the middle.
Ricky Hendrick with a textbook lap here.
Doing his best to make up the deficit. Kane trying to follow him through up the inside. Harvick trying to go a little bit harder on the brakes. Tony Stewart loving all this in his mirror as he pulls away in the lead. Still 3 wide as they leave turn 4. Harvick all the way up top and Newman in the middle. Kane trying to make up some spots. Ricky Hendrick clears the 3 wide that he started as he's now in 3rd place. Kurt Busch joins the mix. Newman a little bit squirrely in the middle of the corner, drops out of the 3 wide. Kane trying to hang with Harvick, who's still on the outside. 38 going
makes a very hard move.
Both him and Harvick deep on the brakes, and Harvick powers straight past Ricky Hendrick for 3rd on the outside. Nowhere for Casey Kane to go on the inner line. So everybody strings out again up front as the top 6 go single file.
Have to start thinking, when do you pit?
Pit road always a bit of a struggle at Vegas. This track is notorious for the pit road problems, and Kane gets kicked out of line there. Not sure if he got hit. I'm going to look back at this because that was... No, just missed the corner. So Kane back up to the outside. He gets clear of the 01 of Busch on the outer line. Ryan Newman takes the chance to pounce. Meanwhile, for the lead, McMurray got underneath the 20F only for a moment. Stewart will stay in front.
An uncharacteristic mistake by the 38, I must add.
Field slowly but surely stringing out here from Las Vegas as we continue to wind laps away. 20 still out front. Battle for second has been the hardest battle on the racetrack at the moment. Here's Ricky Hendrick, who's continuing to charge through the field, trying to take away 3rd again from the 29 of Harvick, who passed him a handful of laps earlier and made quick and easy work of the 29.
Thing is, all these positions are going to be for naught for these championship rivals if Tony Stewart just keeps logging laps.
They're putting the pressure on him for sure, though, as the 5N40 sits side by side right behind him. Which lane do you block if you're Stewart? Top, bottom, both of them pulling up down the front straightaway as neither of them are going to get side by side with Stewart as he covers them off. Both lanes covered by that 20.
If I'm Stewart, I'd much rather that 40 car pass me than the 5.
Definitely think you're right there. Top 6 under a blanket as Newman backs up this pack. Greg Biffle's cut through the way a little bit into 7th place for the moment. Jeff Gordon has joined this mix up front. He runs in the 11th position. And Stewart still trying to fend off this hungry pack right behind him. Casey Kane is going to get aggressive again. The 38 takes it 3 wide off the inside once more. McMurray with a huge move around the outside.
Gets a 3-for-1 special.
40 cars got the lead back as he gets back in front of Stewart. It's now Ricky Hendrick on the outside of the 20. And looking like we're going to see pit stops now as the 20, 38, and 12 are looking like they're going to dive in.
Quite a few cars coming in.
Big group of the top 10 drivers enter the pits here as Stewart, once he lost the lead, decided it was time to pit. So he comes right in. McMurray, who took the lead on the outside, stays out to hold on to first. Ricky Hendrick running second now.
Notably, all 3 of your major championship contenders all came in right there.
That they did. So the primary championship leaders, other than Kurt Busch, that 01 car stayed out. And he's going to pit in this time, though. The 01 will come in. Race leader will be Ricky Hendrick as the 5 stays on the racetrack now.
Staying on the racetrack to collect those 5 bonus points.
Battling side by side, the 2 championship leaders, Kane and Stewart, were side by side leaving the pits. Which one of them is going to come out on top here as Kane's trying to go around the outside? Looks like Stewart's going to have him on pit exit. If only just. It was very close between those two leaving the pit lane. Kane not letting that 20 out of his sight as they get back onto the racetrack. Jeff Gordon joins the racetrack not too far behind them. Last couple drivers coming into the pits here this time by as Ricky Hendrick leads the last group in.
Not a whole lot of diversity here.
Ricky Hendrick pulling over to his left to get into that pit box, and we'll get tires on that Bank of America Chevrolet here.
Thing is, you got people out here that are too busy trying to figure out whether they're even going to make their box to really figure out what they're going to do when they get there.
Absolutely. Ricky Hendrick leaving the pits. Meanwhile, the 38 and 20 look like they're going to be the 2 fighting side by side for the race lead. Leaving the pit lane, it is 20 and 38, your top 2. And comfortably so. Kevin Harvick will be in P3 now. Jeff Gordon 4th. Jamie McMurray rounds out the top 5 now after that little debacle entering the pits. Looks like the short pit works out for the 20 and 38, at least for now. Those 2 going to be your race leaders, the 2 main championship leaders, first and second, although in reverse order of their championship standing right now.
Will Kurt Busch staying out come back to bite him?
We'll see. That 01, not sure exactly where he is right now, as a matter of fact. Way down, and that'll be 21st. I believe he's now in 20th. So Kurt Busch staying out. Looking like it cost him a lot of time on the racetrack in the 01. A bit of a ways off now, and a lot of ground to make up. So Kurt Busch at a bit of a disadvantage. Did not have a good pit stop at all, and I wouldn't even attribute that to staying out long, because some of these guys who stayed out a little longer are still in the top 5. Kurt Busch probably just not really having a good stop on pit road there.
I mean, and now is not the time to have your pit crew making these silly mistakes.
Absolutely not. That is not the time you want it to be happening down in crunch time, and Kurt Busch with a lot of ground to make up after the mistake on pit road with him and his crew. It'll be still Tony Stewart out front, who has begun to pull away from that 38 car of Casey Kane right now. Just ran his best lap of the race that last time by, a 31.153, as he is really laying some rubber on the racetrack at the moment, trying to hold on to that first spot.
I wouldn't exactly sleep on Kane, though.
Definitely not. That 38 looking like he might be trying to gear up for the bit of a longer run, given that he's fallen off of the 20 a little bit. We'll see how it goes longer down the line. He's got a run on him on the backstretch this time. Harvick and Jeff Gordon lurking a bit of a ways back. Didn't mention these two in the point standings prior to this race. Looking at the standings heading into today, as Kevin Harvick and Jeff Gordon are 7th and 6th, respectively. Gordon 235 back and Harvick 269. All but out of the championship right now, and especially with the top two in the points running first and second. It is looking like it is all but over for these two, trying to get back into the title mix, who have been struggling lately, and Gordon and Harvick had a couple of nasty races at Rockingham, and it resulted in them falling well out of this championship hunt.
And that's just how it goes, and it seems like we're gonna lose. If things keep going the way they are, it might be down to 2.
Absolutely. Only one that's really running up there that could keep this gap not too far apart. Robbie Gordon, we mentioned him in the standings prior to the race here today. 5th in the championship, the farthest back of the drivers we meant to mention prior to this race, as he sits 5th in standings. Again, it was 182 behind the 2 points leaders, and would like to finish in front of them in order to make up that points margin in that 31 car. But has a shot at it, and it is the top 5 full of these championship contenders who have been in this mix all season long. It is all drivers from the top 7 in the points who run in the top 5 right now, with Gordon representing 5th, Jeff Gordon 6th in the standings, Harvick sitting in 7th, and then it would be 1st and 2nd. Kane, who is your points leader,
And Kane has found his back bumper yet again.
That he has. Kane caught back up to the 20 of Stewart, and with a chance to challenge for the race lead, but looks like he's biding his time right now to sit behind the 20 of Stewart, who sits in 1st.
Another thing a lot of people seem to forget about Vegas is that the draft plays a very important factor in making a pass.
It absolutely does. Vegas is definitely an aero-dependent racetrack, and especially given that this racetrack is flat, unlike a lot of the other mile-and-a-halfs, you bring a higher downforce package to this racetrack to get that corner grip and make sure you can make those turns at a high enough speed. So draft is important here, as you mentioned. Of course, it means a lot for these guys to follow one another and catch back up in the draft. And of course, Kevin Harvick and Jeff Gordon, who have stayed in line and have followed these two race leaders, are now beginning to pull up to the top 2 and should be within striking distance in a couple of laps, given that they keep running the lines that they are at the moment.
And really, it is a case of it's harder to keep up when you're following them in the corners. But once you get, okay.
How about this run by Kevin Harvick? He takes it 3 wide for the race lead. Kane's gonna back out in the middle. Tony Stewart trying to stay clear on that outside lane. The 38 will follow him through and give a little bit of help down the backstretch. Harvick really getting aggressive for the race lead there. Definitely knows what's at stake and trying to take that top spot, and will get second from Casey Kane here.
Once again, where did he come from?
Absolutely. Harvick with a huge run down the front stretch that time by. Going to get an update also on Kurt Busch in the 01 car, who is still running in 20th with absolutely no ground to make up in front of him. It's a big gap to Jeff Burton and a little bit further to Scott Wimmer, who run 19th and 18th respectively. So Kurt Busch has run a bit of a struggle at the moment. A little bit of a pack behind this top 4, headed by Jamie McMurray and Robbie Gordon. The 5, 12, and 18 all a part of it as well back there, who might have a chance to catch up to the leaders in the following laps. Still, this top 4 staying single file at the moment, and Tony Stewart once again dominating here today at Vegas.
I mean, when that 20 car is on, they're on.
Absolutely. Has led more laps than anybody when he's been on the racetrack. It has been an absolute menace of a race car on the track this season, and no surprises that he's already collected 7 wins on this season. Halfway completed here from Vegas, as we've got one more half of this thing left. Tony Stewart still in control of the race. Jeff Gordon looked to challenge Casey Kane for 3rd place, but couldn't keep the nose underneath there into turn number 1. Top 4 still comfortably lined up right now, and the rest of the top 8 and now 9, as I Neglect to include Bobby Labonte, who is running in the 9th position. Thought it was top 8, but these guys pulling up to the leaders now, going to make it a bit more of a race. It's Chad Little who rounds out the top 10, fighting with Matt Kenseth in the 17 for that position back there. Still a lot of racing left to go here from Las Vegas, and it is still anybody's game as this race continues to wind down here.
I mean, all it takes is someone making a move on Tony Stewart, and this whole pack is just going to come all together. But the problem is that requires someone being able to make a move on the 20.
Absolutely. Tony Stewart still just leading lap after lap after lap. Kevin Harvick looking to challenge. Closed up a little bit there in the mid corner in 3 and 4. Was getting a little bit closer to the back bumper of that 20 car. Casey Kane as well, slowly closing back up from 3rd, though he drops off on corner exit as the 2 Chevrolets pull away from him off the corner. Still just trying to find some sort of line that works to catch up to that dominant Home Depot Chevrolet out front right now. Harvick looking like a better candidate to challenge than any as he gets up to the back bumper of Stewart down the front stretch. And he's going to duck low now, side by side for the race lead, as it's Stewart v. Harvick into turn 1. Through the corner and out of turn number 2 as Harvick keeps it with him off of the corner. Down the back stretch now as we head towards the happy zone for overtaking. Harvick going to try to dive it in there. No, he will not. Stewart harder on the brakes that time, and the 20 clear? Not quite. Here comes Harvick off of turn 4. A better exit on the bottom, trying to hang it with him. Still side by side for the race lead as they were dead even at the line. Give the nod to the 20 just about at the stripe. But out of turn 2, Kevin Harvick is trying to be the 3rd different leader here today, at least under green flag non-pit stop conditions.
Not quite clear.
Not clear yet as Stewart trying to challenge around the outside, harder on the brakes again. Kane still lurking from 3rd, but Kevin Harvick, he's got him this time, and off of turn 4, the 29's got the race lead.
And that bottom in the tri-oval is... it's just unbeatable if you catch them side by side.
Absolutely. Now they leave the corner. Robbie Gordon throwing a block on Ricky Hendrick, who tried to make a move there. Was nearly 3 wide, though Stewart got clear on the outside. Here's the 31 underneath now, as Kane trying to fend off that Richard Childress Racing machine off of turn number 4. Good run by Kane. Gets clear. Gordon still trying to block Hendrick, who now ducks underneath. Ricky Hendrick not having it. Side by side for 4th now, as they enter turn number 1 side by side, and Hendrick is trying to leave him to the wayside and make it 2 for 1 as he ducks underneath Kane down the backstretch. Robbie Gordon trying to take it 3 wide. Up the middle is the 31 car. Hendrick pulls all the way up to Stewart. Where do you go if you're the 20? Ricky Hendrick's got all of them down the front stretch.
You gotta remember, Ricky Hendrick's out here with 2-lap fresher tires.
Definitely playing to his benefit as he pulls up into 2nd place. Stewart and Kane sent reeling as they try to recoup down the backstretch. Jeff Gordon trying to take it 3 wide on Kane now. Absolutely nobody cutting this 38 any slack at the moment. Robbie Gordon up the middle. A familiar spot for him after the last lap, and he clears Kane off of turn 4. It's just the 24 and 31 now. Kane going to try to cross over the 31 down the front stretch, side by side between them, as here's Ricky Hendrick for the race lead. Off of turn 2, Ricky Hendrick clear for the race lead entering turn 3. Tony Stewart diving in underneath the 29 for 2nd place now. And he is not quite clear yet. Harvick with a big run on the outside out of turn 4. Can he get him? Stewart with the inside in the tri-oval as they head into turn 1. Harvick's got the defensive line on the outer line. Jeff Gordon joins this mix. Casey Kane's fallen all the way back to 7th. Gordon trying to take it 3 wide up the inside. Couldn't quite keep the nose in there. Maybe, not quite. that 24 not giving up yet. Might have a second go at 3 wide as they head towards turn 1. He will. 3 Chevrolets. Stewart clear of the 24 again. What a battle it is between this top group here.
And I think this is just Jeff Gordon being a good teammate to Ricky.
Absolutely trying to help him out a little bit. Kevin Harvick just got clear on the outside for second place. Now has his sights set on Ricky Hendrick. What a run down the front stretch, and here he comes for the race lead. But Ricky Hendrick with a huge run in the mid-corner. Had to back it off on corner exit to make sure he didn't walk it up to the wall. Still side by side for the race lead as they head towards turn number 3. And that 5 gets in front of him again. We are getting close to that pit window here. Should be around 57, 58 when Stewart and Kane would be expected to come down. Harvick underneath again for the race lead. Ooh, Hendrick a little squirrely. Harvick did too. Both of them had to get out of the throttle. Stewart closes up. Going to try to take it 3 wide. Is he going to be able to get underneath him? Harvick trying to close the door, and he does. Still a dead heat.
Stewart has to get out of the throttle, and here comes McMurray.
Stewart now going to try to take it 3 wide for the lead again. He is going to be there this time. Ricky Hendrick clears the both of them, cuts across the nose of the 29. He's going to hold them both off for the lead. 2 seconds of tire fall off this run. Headed down the backstretch as Ricky Hendrick has first. And we're seeing our first pitters. Kane, in fact, already came in. The 38 trying to shortcut everybody. 20 car in now. McMurray and Gordon will follow. Staying out to take the lead and hold the lead is Ricky Hendrick.
The real question is 58, 29, 58.
It was about 28 when they came in. Kane came in fairly early as well. It'd be about 56, 55 for him. I believe it was 55 coming to 56.
Yeah, and it's the thing is that it's just about splitting the race into thirds.
It's going to be close for these guys. I believe that was Kenny Wallace who just stayed out to take the race lead in the 2 car, and he does. Those tires are going to matter for the track position, but Kane might be hoping for a caution to be able to fuel that thing back up.
The other thing is, something to note about Kenny Wallace is that he's opening a new team next year.
Yeah, that was a development in the garage over this week as Kenny Wallace pitting in from the lead. Set to retire at the end of this year in the 2 car. Haven't talked about him a whole lot, but is going to be opening a new team in the Busch Series next year. Casey Kane is way in front of the 20 for the lead now after that short pit call for him.
I mean, at this point, Kane, he has to do it. He needs to get those bonus points for that lap lead, and he needs to hope he can cut enough in to make it to where maybe he leads most laps over Tony Stewart.
Trying his best to do so, although I think that 20 might have most laps led locked up by this point with that big green run that he led the majority of, but hard to say. We will see. Casey Kane will take the race lead this time by on those tires that he took early to take that race lead. You got to do what you got to do, and he's a full 3/4 of the backstretch in front of that 20 now. See if Stewart can reel him back in. Ricky Hendrick left the pits in 3rd and was one of the latest pitters, so he's looking out to run it back on this long run.
I do think it's rather important to note that every one of these drivers are going to need to make a final stop in the closing laps. Everyone in this field other than Kenny Wallace.
Yeah, some of those guys who stayed out long might be able to make it on fuel. It's going to be important to see if they can make it to the end. Kenny Wallace, of course, one of the latest pitters there. Don Thompson Jr. was on the racetrack as well, and there was somebody else in between those two. Kenny Wallace already having a pretty good day. He's in the top 15 at the moment, in 13th place, and now has the freshest stuff. Kurt Busch slowly making his way back up through the order as he enters the top 15 again. I'm going to look back just to see who it was that was still on the racetrack in between. It would be Casey Atwood, who also stayed out as long. He's in 24th, and Don Thompson Jr. is back in the 28th spot. So going to be interesting to pay attention to those guys. But Casey Kane in control of this race. That was Eric Norris, who got involved in an incident in the pit lane and is in the pits for a prolonged period. Who got into it with the 16 of Greg Biffle, and that's going to get him stuck on the pit lane. So the 16 of Biffle involved in an incident there, and it's showing as he took some damage repairs to get that fixed, now runs 34th. Tough showing for Roush continues, as he's outside the top 30 now. The 6 of John Wood outside the top 30 as well. Carl Edwards in the 97, not sure on his whereabouts. Running in 9th, a great recovery drive by the 97 at the very least. Running a long way up the order now. Looking at the margin of the lead, it's 2 seconds for Casey Kane, who is well in control of this race, approaching 20 laps to go, but fuel is a big question mark for him with that early call. We'll see what ends up happening for him, and disaster could strike if he ends up having to pit and Stewart does not.
I mean, yeah, the thing is, he has to make that move.
Got to make it bold, and Kane has been both aggressive on and off the racetrack here today. The pitch strategy call, of course, and he's been making a lot of 3-wide moves more than anybody so far today. Been talking about him a lot over the last handful of races. But his counterpart, Tony Stewart, running not too far behind in second place. Ricky Hendrick has put himself in a good position today as well, running in third. And with those better tires, might be surefire to catch up to and pass that 20. 3 wide back there as they fight for the 5th position. Matt Kenseth joins this group. Jeff Gordon and Kevin Harvick middle and outside as they go 3 wide. Kenseth and Gordon get around Harvick, still side by side for that position. 20 laps to go here from Las Vegas, with Casey Kane dominating the current stage of the race. And a battle for second place as Ricky Hendrick is trying to find his way around the 20 of Stewart. Still battling side by side, and as they leave turn 4, Stewart edging ahead. Ricky Hendrick on the bottom of the tri-oval, going to get the little bit of a run as they head into turn 1 to stay with that 20. Still side by side for second place. And Hendrick runs away from him, puts the gap to the 20 off of turn 2, found the traction, and he's got the second spot.
And this is really where that tire difference is going to matter more and more and more.
Yeah, starting to leave him behind now off of turn 4 as he pulls away from Tony Stewart as they head down the front stretch. Now has his sights set on Kane, about a second and a half up the road of that 5 car is the 38. Still leading this race right now. Stewart kind of pulling on for the draft of the 5. As we mentioned, the draft is very important at this racetrack, and Tony Stewart is sticking with Ricky Hendrick right now, just using the draft to his advantage to try and pull himself back up towards the race leader Kane. That gap continuing to dwindle away But Stewart getting a little impatient now as he ducks underneath Ricky Hendrick for the second spot. Side by side.
You guys stay side by side. Is more. It's just kind
Problem
of
for the
giving
97.
up.
Carl Edwards has got a fuel system issue. Did not get in the way of traffic. We'll see if he makes it back to the pits here. That is a tough break for Edwards, who is having such a fantastic recovery drive today.
And an even tougher break for Roush as a whole.
Absolutely, that team's probably only really major bright spot in today's race. He makes it back to the pits safely. We stay green here from Vegas, despite the fuel system issue for Edwards. A lot of battling back here. See Christian Elder going 3 wide on the bottom. Kurt Busch caught up in the middle of all this. His frustrating day, while his 2 championship rivals have been dominating this race, continues to be a bit of a struggle as he finds himself stuck in traffic in the back end of the top 15. Tony Stewart got him back in front of the 5. Cost him a little bit of time to Kane, who's still leading this thing, but the tire fall off continuing. And that potential final pit stop is looming over the head of these race leaders.
I mean, yeah, you're looking at.
Given the fact that they pit in, it was, what, around 27, 28 when these first guys came in.
Yeah.
And then it ended up
You're looking at about
55.
lap 81.
It ended up being about 55, so a pretty short second run. So we could very well end up seeing that final pit stop with a couple of laps left and maybe a couple drivers extended all the way. Will remain to be seen here. But Kane's still comfortably in the lead of this race, although that gap's slowly running out, but Stewart and Ricky Hendrick with a chance to challenge that 38 for the race lead. Kane tantalizingly close to that potential first win.
I mean, I think you're starting to get to the point in which pitting for tires isn't the play.
Probably won't be. I would imagine 2 or none for everybody who's going to come in, if they come in. And still a big question. Vegas always interesting on the fuel strategy, and today winding up to be no different. Side by side again for second place as Ricky Hendrick has continued to pester that 20. Both of them have been pestering each other quite a lot.
11 to go.
Closer to the end than you might have imagined. Side by side for second still as they leave turn 4. Kevin Harvick, McMurray, and Gordon slowly catching up to second and third place. Stewart and Hendrick. 20 gets back clear on the outside. 10 laps to go. Lap traffic looming for Casey Kane. Might actually help him with the draft a little bit. The 78-14 a little bit of a ways up the road. And in fact, actually, I'm going to pause this for a second. These two set a 36-second lap time the last time. Might have been involved in an accident here. Let's get a look. Oh, yeah. Racing for effectively last. These two both got into the wall. The racetrack stayed green. Interesting call, but nonetheless, we are still going here. And Kane is catching up to these two quick.
I mean, he needs to get by these guys quick.
And he's going to waste no time to get underneath Leffler in the 14 car. Now with a chance to get to Jones, and should do so. As he will poke the nose underneath and gets right back down to the bottom, down the front stretch here. See if Stewart and Ricky Hendrick will be so fortunate. Buckshot Jones giving Casey Kane a little bit of trouble here. But Kane will leave them to the wayside off of turn 2. Here comes Stewart to get underneath the 14 car. Jones not going to be so nice to the 20, though, as Stewart's going to get stuck behind him in 1 and 2, as does Ricky Hendrick.
I mean, I think Jason Leffler got a lovely reminder from his spotter whose engine is under that hood.
Buckshot Jones has no such obligations, though, but this time Stewart gets underneath him. Clean racetrack once again for your race leaders, as Kane is running out of racetrack to deal with the 20, who is slowly closing in. As the laps continue to wind down, this is going to be the end of the race very soon here. Rest of the top 5 are going to look to slip by these 2 lap cars here. Ricky Hendrick trying to fight Stewart for second. Side by side once more for P2. Kane going to love that in his mirror. But how much fuel do these guys have as they near the very end of this race? Stewart a little squirrely mid-corner. Ricky Hendrick pulling away, and he's going to take second place here down the backstretch. Kevin Harvick, a big dive bomb to try to get underneath Tony Stewart. That's for third now. Got underneath him, but Stewart with the better exit gets back clear on the outside lane. And pulls all the way up to Ricky Hendrick. And they're going to fight for second again with 5 laps to go.
As Casey Kane still in the lead, still has something in that tank, it looks like.
If that 38 car can make it, it will be a spectacular strategy call, but can Stewart catch him? It's one thing to catch him, it's another to pass him. And with Ricky Hendrick still hounding the 20, it looks like it is no foul play here, as the 5 is trying his best to get first dibs at fighting the 38 for the lead. But the question is of if they can get there, and if any of these guys can make it on fuel.
I mean, that is the one thing that matters. 38 backs off a little more. I seem to remember that a certain Yates driver managed to
3 wide for second, right behind Kane. Sorry to cut you off. Here's Harvick on the bottom. Everybody's fighting to see who can get to this 38 first. Leaving turn 2 as they head down the backstretch. Kane's going to put the back bumper in front of Stewart down the back. They're all here for the race lead now.
Kane has to pit.
And the 38 car's out of fuel, coming to 2 laps to go. No, this can't be happening. Stewart takes the lead with 2 laps left. Kane into the pits. Does Stewart have enough to make it to the end? He only made it a lap extra than the 38, if I recall. Through 3 and 4, Stewart stays on the racetrack, coming to the white flag. Disaster strikes for the 38 team. In an unbelievable turn of events in this championship fight, Casey Kane rejoins the racetrack right in front of the 20. Tony Stewart looking to take back-to-back. He's going to hold off Ricky Hendrick to do it, I believe, as they round turn 4 on fumes. He's got it. Tony Stewart, 8 wins on the season. Heartbreak for Casey Kane. He comes home in 36th place. Disaster.
The curse of number 1 continues.
An absolutely massive flip-flop of this championship, and Tony Stewart wins it here today.
Do you hear the bells?
That might be it, as Casey Kane's
Do
ruck
you
is
hear
running
the
out.
Westminster bell? Because I think the clock just struck midnight for Cinderella.
Absolute disaster, and Tony Stewart is going to be on the end of celebration. His 8th win, back-to-back wins again for the 20 car here today, as he takes a commanding victory. Couldn't say he didn't deserve it. led a ton of laps here today, was one of the faster cars on the racetrack, probably the fastest car in the racetrack, and he wins it.
And it really is just a case of, I mean, Kurt was barely top. Kurt gets a top 10 run, but that doesn't matter.
Still 2 races left to go, so California is going to play a big factor in this thing, but Kasey Kahne, that is disastrous. He finishes 35th. That very well might be the end of his championship hopes. Cannot believe that outcome. And Kasey Kahne,
I mean, 35th, you're losing 120 points.
just an absolute disaster for the 38 team, but it is triumphant bells for Tony Stewart, who takes home the victory here today, your winner. Next week, it'll be California after that absolutely amazing end here to Vegas. And 2 more races remain in your championship hunt. It's still going to be Kahne, Kurt, and, of course, Tony Stewart, who takes the points lead after the win today, his 3rd time winning back-to-back races this season. And he takes a commanding 8th win here today. We'll catch you then. It'll be the Napa 400 from California coming up next. I'm Caden Reif. We'll see you then on behalf of Braden in the booth here tonight. And as always, have yourself a good one.